on making more seating capacity. That also is that kind of that stability factor. And then I know that there's two other projects that are of concern to the board: the Sun Valley High School Stadium and the transportation facility. There's structural issues at that current Sun Valley facility that make it hard just to do similar to what we're doing at the Piedmont facility. There's sinkholes and things like that that need to be addressed, which require more extensive renovation. Additionally, it's a 3A, it's a 3A need for the facility, and that's not for extravagance. That's really for seating capacity and being able to maintain the amount of spectators that you're going to have at a 3A game. And then the transportation facility. I know that this does not directly serve our students, but our current facility has 6 bays for maintenance of buses. DPI recommends 13, as Ms. Boyd said the other night, for a fleet hour size. We have maintenance workers, our bus transportation maintenance workers, working outside at school facilities on a paved parking lot of transportation in inclement weather, trying to, and successfully, very, very successfully, maintaining our fleet. But it's not the kind of conditions that any of our employees should have to work in. And so while that doesn't directly serve children, it is imperative that we show these employees that they shouldn't have to work in those conditions. And similarly, employees inside the building are working in office space that was meant for a fleet, a third of our side of the fleet and a third of the staff. So I just want you to keep those into consideration. Joe Delaney, along with Don Hughes and Don Ogram, have compiled a chart of the projects for you. They're not in any particular priority, but they're there to facilitate your discussion tonight, and I hope that that proves helpful as you're going through this process. That's all I have, sir. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Ms. Morris, and thank you for calling in. I know that I called this meeting literally 48 hours before we had it, and I appreciate you calling in. I understand if you have to get off, we always say family first. So I thank you so much for calling in and for your comments. That'll kind of lead into the reason why I called the meeting is we did have our meeting with the commissioners, our joint meeting, and I'm proud to say that it was our 3rd joint meeting just in a matter of 6 weeks. And that's been great dialogue to be able to sit around a table and to discuss what our needs are, to hear them discuss what their concerns were, and just have that dialogue. So that going forward, whatever happens, the fact that we sat in a room, nobody made us sit in the room, and we had that dialogue is very positive, and it's something that we are going to build upon, and it's not going to stop. With that being said, while we were sitting there, one of the things that we heard in that discussion from the county commissioners is that right now there was not a lot of support, interest in terms of financial and other reasons for not to build a new Sun Valley or the hybrid to come together at $102 million. That's a price tag. Also, as Ms. Marr stated, with our eliminating MCRs into brick and mortar. So it's as we were looking through the list, you could see that those were the big chunks. But what we did hear, and the reason why I wanted to meet tonight, is we heard that there could be some possible share and concerns for areas that are either at capacity or that are going to reach capacity in the next 5 or so years. Some questions we heard is, what are your emergency needs? We know that this plan goes out to 2026. So what is it that we need right now to meet core capacity, especially at those capped? So that's the reason why I wanted to get together, because the commissioners are meeting tomorrow morning. They called a special meeting after their Monday. They had a discussion at their meeting, and there were some board members and staff present, and they felt that it was important to kind of take in what they had just heard and have a special meeting tomorrow morning. So I wanted to have an opportunity to come together in case we wanted to look at paring down the list, not conceding, not saying that these projects are not important, but if there's maybe an opportunity to meet some of these emergency needs or the ones that we know are going to come in the next couple of years. As Ms. Marsh said, the board adopted a resolution with the 227 million. So we still are under that, per regulation. She's our interim superintendent, but she's also a lawyer. And so recognize until we get together, facilities comes together and revises that list. That's our current resolution. So I wanted to have a discussion to see how the board members may feel about what they heard now that we've had a couple days to digest that.
Well, I'll speak first. Sitting in the meeting with the county commissioners, and hearing that they might not support the $237 million bond. The first comment that I shared was, we do have high growth schools that needed help yesterday, and starting to look at our enrollment figures and knowing that we have several schools that need renovations and additions right away. And so I started putting together a wish list, and Madam Chair, you want to start going through that list and identifying, what we feel are those critical schools?
Yep. You can start sharing and then
Okay.
we can.
So just starting at the elementary schools and working down, my list begins with Western Union Elementary School. And the schools that I'm going to mention tonight are already at watch, and some, potentially could be falling into the cap level, once we get 20 and 40-day numbers back. So Western Union Elementary, Porter Ridge Middle, Porter Ridge High School, Monroe High School, and Sun Valley High School are the critical schools on my list that I feel like can't wait, a year or two. Those are the ones that I feel need renovations and additions right away. And we also looked at Piedmont High School, and I took that off my list because it falls into watch in 2019. So in all fairness, the schools that I listed just a few minutes ago, those are at watch and almost capped now. Piedmont High School has a year or two, and then they're going to fall into that critical zone. So we either start, putting it on the list now or waiting a year or two.
Well, and that's part of the problem, that the ones that are on the watch level, it takes time to build, to construct from the ground up, even on renovations, additions. And so when we're at that watch level, we don't have time to wait. By the time it gets capped, it's too late.
And speaking of Piedmont and Porter Ridge, one of the things that I keep, reminding people is that we all know that Porter Ridge is a very high growth area. And traditionally in the past, we've been able to cap Porter Ridge Middle and Porter Ridge High and send new students over to Piedmont Middle and Piedmont High. But we can't, we're not really in a position to do that now because Piedmont Middle a couple of years ago went from 930 students to 1,200 students. So, now Piedmont is not a place where we can, send new students to, because now Piedmont Middle and Piedmont High are crowded.
And also, I'd like to add one of the concerns also raised, what would be the effect of the new charter schools coming in or opening in the county? And charter schools, of course, they open up on the elementary level. So that would not have an impact on the middle and high school for the foreseeable future. So they might age up to a middle school, but have no plans for high school. So that really doesn't impact those schools. And also the Porter Ridge High, Middle, and Piedmont will be in the affected area of the bypass which Dr. McKibben really couldn't take into account the impact that the bypass might have in that area. I can attest, my son attends Porter Ridge Elementary, and I drive by numerous subdivisions in the process of being built in that immediate area. And so I feel it is going to continue to grow to impact that area. And with a limited number of high schools and middle schools, we can't shuffle them around. Might make the case in certain areas we have capacity in elementary schools, but that is not the case in middle and high schools. What, Don, I don't have my sheet in front of me. What's some of these projects for Monroe High School, Porter Ridge Middle High, Piedmont High School? What kind of time frame are we looking at from when you start moving dirt to completion? Just kind of the average.
Wait a minute, do you have a mic or?
You want to go?
Yeah, come right
Yeah.
there, please.
I think the folks at home should have some idea of the timelines, like Ms. Helms mentioned, that actually when we get started to completion.
The current schedule design starts after we get funded, after the bond. So we would probably hire the architect in January and start design. Then we would be in the bid phase in September, October of 17. Construction would be November of 17 to November of 18. What's another one you want? Okay, that is phase one was going to have Newtown, Western Union, Piedmont Middle, Porter Ridge Middle, Monroe High, Porter Ridge High, and Rocky River Elementary. All those had the same timeline that I just read off.
Right. And so those particular projects that Ms. Merrill talked about are the ones selected. You're looking at the same time frame. It's basically going to be 2 years before kids can move in.
Yes, correct.
Ms. Merrill, could you repeat your list for me, please, one more time?
Western Union Elementary, Monroe High School, Porter Ridge Middle, Porter Ridge High, and Sun Valley High School.
And not Piedmont.
And recognizing that the ones I just listed are critical yesterday. They're critical now. Piedmont High School is going to, by 2019, they're going to be in the watch level.
Okay, thank you.
And so I agree with Ms. Merrill's entire list, except I would also agree with Ms. Helms on adding Piedmont High School to that list, given the fact that we do need to plan a little bit in the future, the fact that it will be on the watch level. So I totally agree with, Western Union, Porter Ridge, Middle and High, Monroe High, Sun Valley. I would add Piedmont High. And then just, again, looking a little bit to the future, I would add Cuthbertson Middle. I know it's a little bit more in the future. It hits watch in 2021. It hits cap in 2023 and then it goes back into watch in 2024. But again, it takes time to move dirt. It takes time to plan, and bonds take time to also get approved. So those are the limited lists that I would put forth. I would add Piedmont High and Cuthbertson Middle.
Did you say Cuthbertson High?
No, Cuthbertson Middle. Cuthbertson Middle.
And I guess the only reason I took Cuthbertson off my list, because it was on my list too, is that it doesn't fall into the cap zone until like 2023. So that's why, I moved it a little bit lower on the list, and just, trying to, stay within a $40 or $50 million bond request.
Yeah, I've gotten some feedback, just in here and there talking that Central Piedmont, along with the library, it's about a 50 million. So we felt that maybe if we stayed around a 50 million, kind of the same would be like our, let's say, magic number, but magic goal.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where
Madam
that
Chair,
one.
I wanted to also put something out there just for consideration of the board. It is on. just for consideration, whether we add it to the list or not, we can decide. But Ms. Morris alluded to it when it comes to the transportation facility. And again, if we move forward with a bond, one of the key tenets of our list was that there would be equity. And while I think Ms. Morris stated that it doesn't directly affect kids like a classroom, that does directly affect kids. All our kids are in buses every day. And I believe the transportation of our children, they need to be safe. And we really need to consider, do we want our mechanics working in parking lots or working on buses in less than desired environment to really keep our transportation fleet safe? I think it's the type of project, because it's countywide, with a perspective of equity, the county would be able to the people would be able to get behind that. Everyone shares in that aspect of transportation. So I know it's a higher ticket item. I don't know that we would want to continually push it off as the bypass goes through and as our fleet has to grow. We continue to have 6 bays, and that's a concern for me as a parent who has a child on the bus. And I think it'd be a concern for all parents. Are we having our buses maintained in a facility that allows for proper maintenance? So anyway, I want to throw it out there for consideration.
I have a question. Wingate Elementary is on this list for a little over 12.5 million, and that's a pretty good hunk of change. How many, Mr. Hughes, if you know, how many MCRs are at Wingate?
19, I think, 17, 18, 19.
Okay. And when do those generally age out?
I would say our newest mobiles are 10 years old, and I don't think only 1 or 2 of those are there. Some of the oldest mobiles, Mr. Rushing might have been in some of those. 20 years, 20.
That are still in use that kids are in?
Yes.
What's the general lifespan of an MCR?
We're there on the closet. We're constantly repairing floor, doors, replacing doors and windows because that creates leaks, which goes down to the floor. There's a couple of mobiles.
Can you come up?
There's a couple of mobiles at Wingate that we're actually having to repair probably 1/4 of the floor framing system because, again, the doors leak
Right.
and
So
the windows leak.
how much cost-wise is that? How often are we repairing those MCRs there?
I don't have a good number right off the top of my head. I know that we have spent probably 5, 6, 7,000 this year just on some doors for several mobiles.
Just doors?
Yeah,
not
just
flooring,
no.
not windows?
The flooring at Wingate right now, we have to wait till July 1st to do that next fiscal year. And it's probably going to be in the several $1,000 range for those 2 mobiles. Just to replace one door is about $1,300.
And what about the energy efficiency of it?
They're not energy efficient. It's a mobile unit. So it's 3.5-inch studs with R13 insulation and maybe R19 in the roof, and they're metal, and they have their own AC system for each mobile.
So the cost goes up for
yes.
heating and cooling each
Yes,
month?
right.
19 of them?
And yes, and they leak. I mean, mobiles are not energy efficient. No.
Okay, thank you.
So if I add up, if I start with Ms. Merrill's number and I say Western Union, Porter Ridge Middle and High, Monroe High, Sun Valley High, if you add in Piedmont High and you then add in Cuthbertson Middle and you add in the Transportation Center and use the current available numbers, it comes up to $56,839,661. So let's just run it to $57 million just for round number discussion. That's a big number, obviously, but it's close to the $50 million that we're talking about. And just to put it in perspective, it's 25% of the original ask. So just to kind of start discussing numbers here. So, I mean, it's getting really close. And I think touches all the areas we need to, I mean, it hits the growth areas, it hits the transportation areas.
Well, I guess to figure out, we all, I mean, I have I guess, I have my list. I've got a lot on the list, the whole list. I presented to the county commissioners the entire list on Monday. So I think we all know I support the entire list. But I also listened to what they said, and I came up with, based on capacity, I came up with Miss Merrill's list. Piedmont High School, I was on the fence. And then if we added the transportation, that's 51 million. Now my question, Don, I know you keep getting up and down. You might want to sit close. I don't know. I'm just trying to help you out. One of the only other thing, when I was looking, I saw that Prospect is on this list, and I was concerned with the sewer on that. I know that's been some talk, but I just wanted to verify. It seems like the sewer would be like 2020 to get done. Is that what I saw in the plan?
Let's see.
I just wanted to make sure that it could still wait that long.
Yeah, Prospect, the work we would do there, the actual construction would start in early 19. And that sewer is not as bad as the New Salem sewer.
Okay.
It's not the same system.
Okay.
We have a little more property, but it does need to be fixed, replaced.
Okay, let me ask you another question. I understand, Mr. Martin, your concern for Cuthbertson Middle. And I think, I'm just looking at this, and, Cuthbertson was built in 2009. So we got to build Cuthbertson Middle and High, and we needed to. So my question to you, Don, I guess there's 3 MCRs there? in
Yes.
Well,
Cuthbertson?
no, my concern is with both Piedmont High and Cuthbertson Middle, both the ones that.
Right, and I stated that Piedmont's on my list. I was just talking in addition. I'm talking about the ones that are in addition to our other list. You have several on your list. My question to Don is, there are 3 mobile classrooms there.
Yes.
Does it have room for a couple of more? It's a newer school, it has more room. I'm just curious.
Yes. Yeah, we can put more mobiles at that configuration of a middle school.
And yes.
Yes. Yes, they have
It
3
does.
mobiles, but I don't think they were being used as classrooms this year. They might this coming year, but they needed them, and then I think they moved some program type things in there, and then they became storage,
So
if
they're
I
not
remember
really being
correctly.
used. Right.
Right.
Oh, okay, so they're not.
They're not
Okay.
actively classrooms, but
Oh.
it can be.
Okay.
Because the report I had was that there weren't 0 class being used as classroom units.
Exactly.
Right.
When they were moved there, they were, and then the reassignment happened, the enrollment went down, so they used them for program, not classroom. And I think this year I think Mr. Nistrick may be using them again, but I'm not sure.
Okay, and then I see that Porter Ridge has some MCRs. So so one of the things in this plan that I'd heard all along is that you were going to shift some MCRs as part of the CCEP.
Well, we're trying to avoid moving them, but
Right,
we
moving
will if
them
we need
somewhere
to,
Because you'll have to move them to get rid of them. But you don't want them
if they don't fall
relocate.
apart.
Right. Okay.
Are we going to look at motions and start
Well,
to
I
put our
guess-
list together, or?
I guess we
What's your
should
pleasure?
submit a list, and I guess the question is, I would love to come to consensus on a list. And if we can't, then we come with a priority.
Maybe we start with what we can all agree on.
Right.
Which schools we all feel, and then see where the support goes, adding to.
Okay, so I think we all, this is going to be known as Miss Merrill's list. So Miss Merrill's list, which she's, did you Piedmont High, that's me adding that onto your list, right? Is Piedmont on your list? It was not on her list. Okay. So you have Monroe High School, Porter Ridge Middle School, Porter Ridge High School, Sun Valley High School, and Western Union Elementary. And then Mr. Martin, you included Piedmont High School and Cuthbertson Middle School and the transportation. Both, right. I'm just, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just trying to make a list. So I've got my list too. Okay. So who's going to be my calculator? Oh, okay. There you go. I mean, you know what I mean. You're more than a calculator, but.
So that was. Okay, we were looking for a calculator. So Western Union Elementary, Porter Ridge Middle, Porter Ridge High, Piedmont High, or no?
I think we're paring it down to bare minimum to see where we go up. Is that?
Okay, so we're going to do, so let's take the ones that are currently at watch.
Okay,
Currently at watch. Let's just start there.
so Western Union, Porter Ridge Middle, Porter Ridge High, Monroe High, and Sun Valley High.
Okay.
So those are all at watch or cap.
Is that 39,468,641? I don't know. I added something up.
So I get 40.2.
Oh, you did 40.2? Okay. Okay.
So
So now can the board agree on those to be included in a list?
to be our base.
Just
at least.
Your base.
We can, to start those, we can all agree on those, right? Okay. So now Piedmont High School, that's got some support. I mean, recognizing when I'm saying this, I know we all support the entire list because we voted on it and we adopted a resolution. So with that being said, but if we think that maybe we can try to negotiate and work with a $50 million number for right now, urgently, that's what we're working toward.
Well, seeing that Piedmont High School is 2.2 million for necessary renovations and additions, I would support adding Piedmont High School in the request at 2.2 million.
Okay.
Because it is in close proximity to the bypass. The overflow from the Porter Ridge campus. And so at 2.2 million, you know, I would encourage going ahead and getting and planning ahead for them, you know, reaching watch in 2019.
Then what about the middle school? Because the middle school is where the bubble is, according to McKibben, correct?
According to
McKibben.
Well, let's see.
I thought
So-
the bubble was the rising 10th graders or
Okay, so
in the
Piedmont
ninth,
Middle
10th.
School right now has,
2018 is when Piedmont Middle goes into watch.
20 what?
2018.
okay, and then, so that's 1217, and then it goes down to 1100 through 2026. And the current,
The reason I moved Piedmont Middle off my critical list is I believe there are around 1,200 students right now. And I'm not getting a lot of complaints, you know, from the principal as far as a management issue. And if they go into watch at 1217 and then 1171 and 1157, then that's really not 17 students more than where they are right now. So I didn't see that as critical as the ones I've already listed.
But do we see those two items, those two schools as critical, considering it's still a few years off than the transportation facility, which seems like it needs attention sooner?
You
Right.
know, I'm kind of coming back to Mike's transportation
Yeah.
center. That's been a hot issue
Yeah.
lately. We've got a new transportation director coming in. There are a lot of questions people have about maintenance and
Right.
making sure, and we're trying to update our fleet. I mean, it's an issue right now that might be worth holding off on Piedmont High and Piedmont Middle to try and sneak it in. That bring us up to 52 million.
Mhm. I'm
It
really
might be worth it.
concerned about that transportation facility because we've had, as much as we can say, we've had some concerns and some things, and there's some safety concerns. And, as I said in the presentation, we've got bus mechanics in the garage, in the parking lot repairing buses. I know it's not a school and not core capacity, but as Mr. Guzman says, it affects all children. It affects the safety. So does that mean that now we're kind of talking about, okay, and that's taken off Piedmont High School?
Given what Don is saying about being able to utilize MCRs at Cuthbertson Middle, I can go along with the board with not doing Cuthbertson Middle. I do think we need to do Piedmont High School. I do think we need to do the transportation center. It puts us at 53.6.
Okay. So do you think, okay, so does the board feel, I actually, that works for me per se. I'm just putting in my pot, not,
Piedmont High and the transportation, right? And that puts us at 53 and change.
Yeah, that's Western Union, that's Monroe High, that's Porter Ridge Middle, that's Porter Ridge High, that's Piedmont High, that's Sun Valley High, and Sun Valley High, and that's with transportation. Check my math, but I come up with 53.6.
okay, so I guess our next question will be,
I get
oh, wait
54.4.
Wait 1 second, Ms. Morris lost us in the mountains. Okay, well, maybe you can ask her if she can join back in. Okay, so I guess the next question is, do we go with that list and present that list? Or do we go with a priority in the event that there's some, since we are going back to them with some wiggle in case the commissioners say, hey, we can do this, 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 or are we saying this for a bond or nothing?
Sorry, I think if we go with the list, I think since we all agreed on the initial list,
Okay.
right? And then the items that came after that, if we think transportation should come next, and we say that's the next one, and then if something has to be taken off, it just comes off the bottom when they move up. That's probably the best way to do that. I'm sorry? That's the question. I don't know if you would
Oh,
put
okay.
transportation on the bottom, maybe you put a
Well,
Piedmont.
So if we agree on these, then we take them and rank them.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that it's not a matter of, I mean, it's our priority when we're looking at what we're trying to do, places where we need, it's critical to add core capacity at Watch. And then it goes with our premise and then our safety and our, our concerns. I don't think there's anyone on this board that cannot argue that the transportation facility is very important. And I would make that case, but I'm just trying to maybe we have some wiggle room for a little, we make our decisions.
Well, philosophically, I'd like to say I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but I'm going to say it's not really the county commissioner's job to decide as far as priority of projects, whether do this one or don't do this one.
Correct.
I think we need to put our best foot forward. We're here at the 11th hour and say, look, these are the ones we really feel cannot wait. And if you do not feel, if you don't have the votes or you don't vote to put it on a bond, then we'll drop back and punt and figure it out. But I think we need to say this is
Okay.
it, not choose A, B, and C.
Okay.
That our job is to decide what exactly is needed.
I agree with Mr. Sides, and I've added up again. I come up with 53,653. And I think
You did too.
my opinion, Western Union, Monroe High, Porter Ridge, Middle and High, Piedmont High, Sun Valley, and Transportation. I agree with Mr. Sides. We come up with a list and we say, this is our list, that the board has agreed to it.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that
Oh,
we.
wait a minute. I have the
Yeah, okay.
motion.
Sorry, you go ahead.
So we can have some more discussion, but, oh, wait a minute. Let's let Ms. Merrill get in while we make Miss Morris, the other M. M. Oh, I think we might get her. At least it's ringing. It's not happening. Are you sure? What about her other phone?
I am dialing 8.
There you go. Okay, so we're about to read. So I'm going to read the list, which is Monroe High School, Porter Ridge Middle School, Porter Ridge High School, Sun Valley High School, Western Union Elementary, Piedmont High, and Transportation. Is that correct? Okay. And numbers to come. So I need a motion to submit the list of projects I have just read, which will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for their discussion tomorrow at 8 a.m. with the caveat that our request and the original resolution adopted in May remains in effect. Furthermore, the Facilities Committee shall meet to review the projects for review and revision pursuant to our decisions tonight. So basically, what this is saying in language, we adopted that resolution that included our original bond, and we can't, by law, ignore that resolution. And this is saying, in a legalese way, until the Facilities Committee comes back together and review our entire project list and decide our next steps. I don't want to say another resolution is coming, another list. The facilities is going to review and come back with their recommendation. So that is the motion that I need.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so discussion, I just wanted to ask if we've come up with we've got a couple 53.6s. Is that the consensus? But okay. Okay, so is there any other discussion?
I just want to reiterate that all these projects, these schools are either already at watch or at cap, or will be within the construction time frame we're looking at if a bond is approved this November. We've had a lot of discussions, a lot of questions. I know I've had a lot of questions from parents about transportation. And I think it is important that we show we are asking for a sizable investment to have the proper facilities to maintain the some 300 buses that we utilize at UCPS to transport our students. And not only do we need the investment in the actual buses themselves, but the facilities and the staff to maintain and drive them. And this, I think, sends the message that we are placing a very high priority that our transportation in all aspects is up to where it needs to be. So after some soul searching, I support that addition as well. And I think all of these are, if they're not critical, they're doggone on life support. So I favor these projects.
I have a question for other board members. Obviously, if this was on the list, the facilities committee worked on the CCEP. It was very difficult work. What about the rest of the list? What are we going to do? We can't leave this in limbo. These were obviously not pulled out of a hat just saying we want. This is not a want list. This is a need list. And when we're not funded for capital, when I think it was 2 years ago, I think it was May of 2014, we were assured by Mr. Yates that we could be funded capital for up to 20 million for 6 years. And we're not getting that. So what about the rest of the list? What about the rest of the schools? Are we going to ask for another bond in another year? What's our plan?
Well, the plan
Because
is,
this isn't magically going to go away. Our emerging needs aren't going to go away. Yes, things magically break. There's no time stamp on a hot water heater. There's no time stamp on a chiller. These are obvious needs. How are we going to address them?
well, that's what I said. And as I said, this is
So-
going to go back to the facilities committee.
Right. But, so what's our plan for the rest of this list? What's our plan going forward for the rest of this list? Because these are obviously needs, not wants, needs.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, as I've said, we're going to go back to the facilities committee. And here's what I heard. I heard when I sat down, when we were in that meeting, the county commissioners were not, I don't like to use the word not supportive, not interested, because it's a price tag. But I heard no bond, nothing. And then I started getting feedback that maybe we could do 50 million. So the reason I call this meeting is we could throw the baby out with the bathwater, or we could try to get a little bit of something while we come up with a plan to fight for the rest. As I said, this list isn't going away. It's not important. It's our resolution, but it's a start. It's a start. And I understand that
And the other
completely.
issue that's going to come up is, obviously, we're coming out of the recession. Dirt is being moved. We're starting to grow again. We're going to be back at square one sooner than we think if we don't address this now. This
I
is a
agree.
real issue. We're going to be back at square one really soon if this isn't addressed.
And I understand that. That's why I gave the presentation that I did to the county commissioners. I mean, choir, preacher, amen. I get you. And I think that this might be, I was going to say in the comments that, as you know, we've lost a couple facilities members. And after speaking with Ms. Helms, that we do have a new facilities chair. Ms. Merrill is going to be our facilities chair. And there's a big task that facilities has to do. So Ms. Helms, you're still there, couldn't let you go. And so now I'm in. So we will see what we come up with. And we're going to meet very shortly. I think the chairs is looking at her calendar to figure it out. So I agree. I was just trying to get something better than nothing, because I came out Monday thinking nothing. And then I kind of got when maybe something. So I agree with your sentiments. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I think there's a motion, which I've read, and there's been a second. So I think we can call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, did you get that? 6-1. Okay, so what, I have promised Commissioner Rushing that I would have a letter and a list of projects that I didn't know he was going to be here, so that's good. So I'm going to email him our list of, our bare minimum for the next 2 years, understanding that we are coming back. We're not going to go away. The projects aren't going to go away. The problems aren't going to go away. The people aren't going to go away. So, thank you.
I want to make sure, I think you mentioned the vote was 6-1. I think it's 5-1.
Thank you, sorry, 5-1. It's a long day, I can't count. So you got that right, though, yeah. The person with the minutes.
I can see the minutes right here.
Okay, so there is nothing else. Number 3.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.